so far? Yeah, good. Glad to hear it. Now wait, I gotta find my little Joe. Okay, here we go. All right, I was saying, driving up, weird thoughts. I'm thinking, gosh, I really need to make sure when I go to my eternal rest that somebody tells a really good joke at my memorial, okay? So I'm just declaring that out here, all right? Because if you can't celebrate somebody's life, right? So that'd be fun. That would be fun. I'd be sitting there just going, yeah, laughing.
That we should know.
I actually have a couple, so I think I'll have to print them out and for Rep. Maryum's life celebration. No. This is like 20 years from now. Or wait, how old am I? Or maybe 30 years from now. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Then I'd be like 105.
All right.
All right. So this one's called Undercover Clergy. Hopefully you get this one. The one you did get, I put a big cross through it. Okay. A minister, a priest, and a rabbi went for a hike one day. Oh no, this is the wrong one. Wait a minute. No, you already heard that one.
Yep.
That was really good though. It was really good, wasn't it? I know. No, wait. No, I got it. Hang on. Or do I have it?
You could do what my grandson did.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Diana, because I must have left it in the office. Go ahead.
And his grandmother's shop still. He just went his first year of high school a month ago.
Little louder, honey.
A little louder. Come on up here. Okay, because this was kind of cute. She thought it was shocking. I thought it was funny.
My grandson just, is that on?
Yeah.
My grandson just started 9th grade in high school a few weeks ago, and he came home and told his father this joke. What do you call a chameleon that can't change its spots anymore?
Anybody?
Reptile dysfunction.
Okay.
Okay, cute.
What was that? Oh, did you find it? Oh, thanks, Lily. Oh, here it is. This is good. Okay, along with that one, because that one was kind of cute. I don't know, did that shock you? I thought that was kind of cute.
I'm older than you.
Okay, anyway, all right. Okay, this is it. All right, Better Than Pork, it's called. A priest and a rabbi found themselves sharing a compartment on a train. After a while, the priest opened a conversation by saying, I know that in your religion you're not supposed to eat pork. Have you actually ever tasted it? The rabbi said, I must tell the truth. Yes, I have on the odd occasion. Then the rabbi had his turn of interrogation. He asked, your religion too? I know you're supposed to be celibate, but the priest replied, yes, I know what you're going to ask. I have succumbed once or twice. There was silence for a while. Then the rabbi peeked around the newspaper he was reading and said, better than pork, isn't it? Okay, that was a good one. Thanks, Lily. Anyway, my talk title is Let Your Voice Be Heard, and so a bunch of things come up for me this week about that. One of them was I just finished teaching the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, and one of them was be impeccable with your word. And you were saying, okay, be impeccable with my word, I have to keep my word, and that's not what he was talking about. He was talking more about keeping the word to yourself and about really honoring yourself. And as George was singing, we honor ourselves with what we do, and then you were saying about the persistence, Lily, because we have to be persistent about our do-it-ourself project. Because if we're not, how are we going to get that love? And the other thing is that as I was looking around in Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, we all said, oh, he doesn't talk about the heart. He talks about love a lot. And he talks about how powerful it is. So I want to just read something just briefly, and then I'm going to go back to it. But this is in the Science, Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And it's called The Story of the Lost Word. Moses said that the word of power is not afar off, but in our own mouth, that we should know it and do it. But very few ever believed that Jesus meant exactly what he said and said exactly what he meant, or that he knew what he was talking about. The teaching of both Jesus and Moses has eluded us because whoever would believe that the lost word is in his own mouth? Whoever would believe that the power we are searching for, we already possess, and that the secret is no secret at all. So I'm going to read one more line and then you'll get it. Our first conclusion then should be that there is such a word of power. There is a truth which can deliver us from evil. There is a way to know this truth and use this word in such a manner that good and only good can follow. Now the approach to this lost word is, first of all, one that brings us back to a God of love and intelligence. There is but one final power and presence in the universe, which is good, and there is but one final impulsion in the universe, which is love. And it is only through love that we find the presence in its greatest and can use the power in its fullness. And then I'll get back to this in a little bit. But I thought about, how we can let our voice be heard. And there's a couple of things. And I thought about how it can be powerful in a way, and it also can be not so powerful. And how can we choose it to be in love all of the time? And one of the ways is that when we're speaking with somebody and we have a disagreement with them, then it's able to see if we can come together in harmony and talk to each other, become closer in our relationship. And that works when the other person is ready, willing, and able to do that. And you've all experienced that, haven't you? And what that does, it brings you closer to that individual when you talk about it. And during all the people that I have counseled, when they go back and they start to communicate a little bit more fully from their heart with their partners, with their businesses, whatever the case may be, then they're able to change that relationship and actually bring a positive energy into their lives. Now, conversely, there's also an energy that if we choose to let it go, that can actually benefit the individual. And I'll give you an example. There was a person, and this has happened 2 or 3 times in the 12 years I've been here, maybe 2 or 3 times. And they'll send a scathing email, or they'll send a text, or whatever the case may be. And what I think, you're going to think I'm probably a little crazy, but immediately when I see that negativity, I look at it and go, wow, I wonder what's going on with them. I wonder what's happening, that they're reaching out to me in order to, in some way, because they know, I don't know that they're going to know this, maybe their soul does, but that I'm going to pray for them, and I'm going to know what's going on. But the loving thing to do, the kind thing to do, is not to engage with that anger, that pain, that sorrow. It's able to just, yes, I hear you, thank you, goodbye. Because I've had it so many times when they're going, blah, 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 and I said, thank you for sharing that. What do you mean by that? And then they go on and on and on. And then I go, thank you so much. Thank you, love you, holding you in prayer. And that's it. Because that's all we really need to do in order to speak our truth. I was watching The Highwaymen. They had that on before. It's a documentary about all of the guys, Chris Christopherson, I didn't write down their names because I always forget, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
And what's interesting about them is that all 4 of them, they were talking about how they were unique individuals, and I hope that each and every one of us is a unique individual. That they really had to let their voices be heard in a different way. The record labels told, I think Willie, he couldn't sing, you might as well give that up and just write songs. And I mean, all these things that we've been told in our lives. But what these 4 gentlemen did, they came together, and with their unique gifts, they brought together the most potent group at that time. And they really helped people to listen again to country music and to music in general. And they were like the rock stars of country. If you ever heard their songs, and they put out a couple of albums. The other thing that they did was they wrote their own songs, they went with their own truth, and they did what they had to do. And that's what we have to do. We have to speak our own truth and speak our own word. And that made them hugely successful because they didn't listen to other people outside of them. So let's say in our lives, oh, that's great for them, they were famous. Well, they weren't always famous, believe me. And they had their way of coming up into the world. And they were also very involved in changing the world. Chris Christopherson had all of his little things that he liked to be in charge of, and he would go off and he'd, protest for this and do for that. And I think it was Willie Nelson
And he
started.
wrote Me and Bobby.
Yeah, well, that was a big one. And then Willie Nelson created the event Farm Aid. Remember Farm Aid? And that was because, and so I'm looking now, and he says we have to depend on ourselves as a community and come together and hear each other. And that's what he did, and they brought together money in order to help the farmers. And this was back in, what year was that? I don't even know.
God, 80s.
80s, right? Yeah. So, and they're still doing it, and he started it. So it was really, whatever we do in our lives, we create, I don't never do anything that big. But how do we know that something that we're doing in our lives isn't big to somebody else? And I'll give you another example. There's times when we'll see somebody maybe 2 or 3 years later, and has this ever happened to you where they go, wow, Reverend Maryum, when you told me blah, 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 it changed my life. And I'm like, what did I say? But it's that you, at that moment, for that person, whether it's a friend or it's a relative or somebody like that, your powerful word helped them to transform and to change. And you may not even know it. And like I said, you may just give somebody a little bit of time. Listen to them. Talk to them. Because when you're listening to them, that's powerful as well. But I'm going to go ahead with Ernest Holmes. Oh, before I get into that, there's another reason why we speak up and we let our voice be heard. And I thought of another 2 or 3 good examples. Have you ever been around individuals where they're saying something snarky or not so nice to you, and you have to set a boundary? And then they immediately change. Have you ever had that experience? So sometimes it's powerful to do that, but it's not powerful if you're just going to fight with somebody. But if you're just speaking up and you're holding yourself in truth, that's a whole different deal, okay? The other way is if you see somebody being bullied or somebody is bullying you, when you speak up to assist that person. And there's been so many times when somebody doesn't know how to step in and they don't know how to help this person or go get help or whatever, and it made a difference. And I remember one story, that young man, it was on the train and they were being hijacked. Remember this story? And he was a young man with a friend, and all they did was take the guns away from these guys, and they saved everybody in the train. And so in that moment, when he felt it, he said, I got to do something, I am going to do this, and I'm going to hold my truth, and I'm going to take care of this. And then he was lauded as a hero the rest of the time. It was really beautiful. So when we speak our truth, it's about allowing ourselves to feel who we really are. And what Don Jose says is that when we honor our gifts and our talents, how many of us really acknowledge what we have and what we have to give in the world? Do you do that? Do you ever write it down and say, gosh, I'm really great at this, I'm really great at that? And because we're not taught that, are we? We're taught like, oh, be shy, don't do that. But when we do that, it allows us to claim our power and to attract more to us in the world. So changing to another little aspect of this, when we pray and what we did and what we do in the world, it's powerful. So I'm going to read again a little bit more from Ernest Holmes. The next thing we discover that having come to realize that love opens the doorway to the secret chamber, we should realize that the power must be used affirmatively. We cannot use it while we deny it. We cannot use it while our minds are filled with doubts and uncertainties about it. Love is a feeling. Faith is the key to using this feeling. Love has nothing in it that could hurt anything. Faith has nothing in it that can deny any good. the starting point, a love that cannot hurt and a faith that will not be denied. When through love we use faith affirmatively, a law of good operates on our word and brings into our experience or into the experience of those we are thinking of the good we have accepted. We reveal the divine presence in everything and discovering the lost word and find the kingdom of God, which is the kingdom of love. So there's a few other things that he says, that we must realize that the power exists and that it operates from the center of our own being, in our own minds. Next, we must approach it with love, and then we must use it affirmatively. In actual practice, the method will follow something along the following lines. And he says, to make certain times definite every single day. We've talked about this, how we say, let's say we're experiencing, we want more prosperity, or we want more health. And we can't just forget about it. If we speak the word and we say it, I found a little book from Louise Hay, and if we speak that word and we say it, then we're going to claim that in our life. So he says, here's one that he says to say, and if you want to say this with me, it will be powerful. And repeat after me. God is the only power and the only presence there is.
God is the only power and the only presence there is.
And God is right where I am.
God is right where I am.
I live and move and have my being in God. I live and
Have my being in God.
God's being moves through me and manifests itself in what I am doing.
God has his
God's being
being.
moves through me and manifests itself in what I am doing. So many times I'm just aware of how our minds will take us into a negative place, and that we can choose and choose and choose again to come into a positive place. So it's what Catherine Ponder said, we're persistent. Because it may not happen overnight. We may not get that place to live. We may not have that money flow into our lives right away. But if we're persistent, and if we believe and have trust and faith that it's going to happen for us, then we have that happen. So I want to close with this, and hopefully this week you'll go to, when you're having, I don't know, do you ever notice some weeks you just have more negative thoughts in your head than others? Anybody ever had that happen? Okay, right? And so as we are aware of that, maybe a nice little affirmation would be, I am having less and less negative thoughts, and I claim more and more positive thoughts in my life. Because who wants to have that, the mind that's trying to take over from us? Who wants to have that ruin our lives? And that's what happens. Because we can succumb to it. I remember Reverend Nirvana used to say, get thee behind me, Satan, meaning, get thee behind me, crazy-making thoughts. Because if we sit too long and we're by ourselves sometimes too long and we don't talk to somebody or we're not engaged in something, the mind goes wacky. We have a beautiful mind, but it creates when we don't want it to create, right? And we have to allow it to create in a different way. And so by using these affirmations, using prayer, using all of the things that we talk about, it's a way to shift your life. So be present to your life. How would you want to have the more? How do you want to have more blessings come into your life? Because I did this and I was all worried about something and I'm like, oh God, there you are, being a little victim. And then I thought, okay, so what do you want? And I got out of it because then I'm thinking about what I claim to have. No kidding, an hour later, it came into my being. That's how powerful our word is. That's how powerful our voice is, our inner voice. Because our inner voice is speaking to Spirit and God all of the time. So as we shift, as we're impeccable with our word within us, we're able to shift our life in the most profound way. So here's the one that I'm going to close with, that Ernest Holmes says. Don't say it's not possible. Say it's possible, it will happen, and I know it's going to happen. So here's the quote. You can say it after me. The good I desire, I already possess.
The good I desire, I already possess.
That which I ask for, I now receive.
That which I ask for, I now receive.
And that which I want and need, I now have. And that which I want and need, I now have. And so it is.
So it is.
I love Ernest Holmes. So with that, go this week, and if you have a little gremlin attached to your brain this week, then say, no thank you, and think about what you want and what you desire, and change it into a wonderful little angel that's going to assist you in your life and all your desires. So peace and blessings. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Thank you. Woohoo. All right.